I don't see them anymore. The garage is all full of crap. I finally got my kids out of the house and started taking garage back. Oh, really? To drive all the way up to the
Yeah, it's
back.
okay. I told him.
Well, that sucks.
I wanted this store. It was like, the pants would have wrinkles, and I thought, you know, I mean, what about money? It was just that I thought the aggravation.
That's hilarious.
I hate to call it
Yeah. Just call it Aaron Macon.
He's in Palm Beach.
It's funny, I work with his brother.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. His brother works for.
It's now 6 p.m. I'm going to call to order the Regional Planning Commission business meeting for Thursday, April the 11th, 2024. I'll ask Commissioner Mills to lead us in the pledge as customary to open the meeting. Thank you all and welcome. And if you have a telephone or electronic device, I'll ask that you either turn it off or put it on vibrate, because if not, I might ask you to come up and run the meeting. So I'll now do roll call and determination of quorum. Sarah, thank you.
Mr. Peterman?
Present.
Mr. Servan?
Present.
Mrs. Carter?
Here.
Mr. Galvery?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you're 7 present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. You also have an agenda in front of you. I'll ask if there's any additions, deletions. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve in a second.
So moved. Second.
Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servan?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Carter?
To approve.
Mr. Galvery?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you again. Also, Commissioners, in front of you, you have the minutes for March 14th, 2024, the lengthy minutes. I assume you've all had time to look them over and all. If they're okay as written, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Move to approve. Second.
Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
To approve.
Mr. Servan?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvery?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving the minutes of March 14th.
Thank you again. Next on the agenda is the applications that we sent over to Levy Court. If you have any questions about the application that we sent over, then you can contact staff at a later date. We're now going into the business of tonight. First one on the business tonight is CS-24-02 Cattail Creek Propane Facility. Requests conditional use with site plan approval of a public utility underground propane field located inside the growth zone overlay district. We received a letter this week of which they've actually gone along with staff recommendations and what we talked about at our meeting. Sir, you want to enhance that, or you want to just let it go as presented? Yeah, I don't think anybody has any questions on it. We saw how they did it. Mr. Davis?
I guess I have one just simple question. When this is approved, I'm quite sure it's going to be approved, the people who live in the house, do they have an opportunity to change gas companies? Or is this going to be a situation, this is not going to make my vote, but I'm curious about somebody spends $300,000 for a house, are they going to be obligated to buy gas from this company that's putting it in? And I would like to kind of know that answer.
Are you the gentleman that was sworn in last week?
I am not.
Okay, we'll have to have your name and your address, unless you're an attorney.
I'm not.
Okay. Thank you then. Have your name and address and can be either sworn or affirmed.
Michael Steiner, 2312 Ridgeway Road,
Sir, do you,
Wilmington, Delaware, 19805.
sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You can pull that up to your mouth closer so we can all hear you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sir, what we do is no different with natural gas, that there's facilities put in and there's an obligation. But what we do to protect the customer, we have probably 40 jurisdictional systems, at least 25 of them in Delaware. And what we do to protect because the builders want the same thing as what you're asking about. So what we do to protect the customer is we put two different pricing mechanisms. So number one, we put a pricing mechanism where they get a discount to our current price. And they also get a discount to the Department of Energy, the Federal Department of Energy publishes a price for all the states on a weekly basis. So what we do is we set a discount to that price. So there's two. So basically, they get a beneficial price for where we treat our existing customers, and basically a discount to the average price in Delaware that's published weekly by the federal government.
So, I understand that, but suppose they was unhappy with the service. Can they put their own tank on their own property?
No.
The answer is yes.
The answer is no.
They cannot.
No.
So you're basically dominating and have a monopoly on the gas system in these developments.
That is well, yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the explanation.
Okay.
Now I'll open it up to the commissioners. If I don't have any other questions, entertain a motion to move forth. Denise?
I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval of the application CS-24-02, a minor utility underground propane field located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. And this is based on Exhibit A, the staff recommendation report from April 4th, 2024, and Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated April 4th, 2024, and the findings of fact that A, the subject site is zoned AC agricultural conservation, and subchapter 205-53 permits minor utility and underground propane field as a conditional use. B, the location is appropriate and not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. C, the public health, safety, and general welfare will not be adversely affected. And D, the plan complies with the conditions of subchapter 205-72E. Pursuant to chapters 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code, and pursuant to 9 Delaware subchapter 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the April 4, 2024 staff recommendation report. And furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the April 4 staff recommendation report, including but not limited to the following. A, the waiver from 187-53, I guess it's 1-4, requiring liquid propane and/or natural gas substations to be located a minimum of 100 feet from parcel lines and 200 feet from the nearest residential dwelling setback line is granted modified approval, and plan shall be revised to incorporate the staff's recommendation as reflected in Exhibit C. B, the final plan must meet all requirements of both subchapter 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and all items in the final plan column of Appendix D of subchapter 187. C, the plan must gain final approval within 24 months of the date of preliminary approval. Construction may not commence until the final approval is given.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
No.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
I'm gonna have to vote no. I appreciate the company. They've made some changes about the distance from the homes, and they made some modifications and sent some nice literature to us to look at. But my issue is I don't think anybody should be obligated to any company. And I just think that there should be a provision in their contract that if they want to change gas companies for whatever reason, they should have a right to do that. And that's the only reason I'm voting no. I like the sketch. I like what they've done. Because I'm happy with the hydrant system. They've done the whole 9 yards. But I just don't think it's right that somebody has a monopoly over the gas business when it might be cheaper someplace else. So I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Jester?
I vote yes, and thank them for doing what we asked and what staff recommended.
So you've got 5 ayes, 2 nays in favor of recommending conditional approval of application CS 2402.
Thank you, and good luck with your project. Next on the agenda tonight is CZ-24-02, also LC-24-02, King, Edward V., and Loretta L. Request to amend the zoning map from AC, Agriculture Conservation, Low Density Residential, to BG, General Business, Highway Commercial, located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. I don't think there was much opposition at all last week, and it's pretty much cut and dried. Everything around it's BG, and I don't think any of the commissioners had any much to talk about on this one. So I would now ask for a motion and a second so we can move forth.
Motion. I move the Regional Planning Commission recommend approval of the ordinance LC 24-02 to amend the zoning map from AC, Agriculture Conservation, to Low Density Residential, to BG, General Business, Highway Commercial, located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, Staff Recommendations Report dated April the 4th, 2024. Exhibit B, Public Hearing Testimony dated April the 4th, 2024, and the findings of the fact that the character of the neighborhood is primary commercial. B, the subject site is designated as a commercial area in the land use strategy map 7-C of the comprehensive plan. C, facilities are in place to serve development of the subject site. D, the proposed zoning classification is compatible with the surrounding area.
Thank you for the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 ayes in favor of recommending approval of ordinance LC 2402.
Thank you all, and good luck with your project. Number 3 on our new business tonight is actually ordinance LC 24-03, adequate public facilities. An ordinance to amend Kent County Code Volume 2, Chapter 187, Subdivision and Land Development, as amended by revising Article 17, Supplementary Regulations, subsection 187-90.2, adequate public facilities, in order to delete the provisions regarding roads, schools, and water. We had quite a discussion on this, quite a lot of communication, and I think a lot of it has been finalized and actually told what will still happen. So does any commissioners have anything they'd like to say, or if not, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Davis.
I guess the only question that I have, I think I know the answer. I'll check with Sarah. Streets in a subdivision, who regulates that?
Do you mean the configuration or the construction? You mean construction of streets? Who regulates that? That's DelDOT.
So if this is eliminated, how does it affect subdivisions for building of roads within a subdivision?
It doesn't. It's DelDOT's regulations still govern.
So, what we're doing is, I thought we was getting rid of the roads in this, old ordinance.
This would eliminate the adequate public facilities requirements for roads, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? If not, I'll still looking to make a motion. Denise?
I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend approval of ordinance LC 24-03, deleting the roads, schools, and water provisions of the adequate public facilities ordinance. And this is based on Exhibit A, memorandum from staff dated March 26, 2024. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated April 4th, 2024, and the findings of fact that A, Kent County has no governing authority over road design, construction, or maintenance, and DelDOT has revised their standards to better capture the improvements required by new development. B, the education surcharge on building permits will adequately replace the school capacity mitigation fee. And C, Chapter 187, subdivision and land development already requires the installation of public water for subdivisions over 10 lots, and Title I, Chapter 700 of the Delaware Administrative Code addresses the installation of fire protection under the purview of the State Fire Marshal's Office.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
I did have concerns about some of these things, and I guess I still do. Some of the things I think should have remained, but in, I guess, the best interest of the county, some of it makes sense, some of it I don't really understand why they're doing it, but I will vote yes.
Mr. Jester?
I vote yes.
So you've got 7 yeas in favor of recommending approval of ordinance LC 2403.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank staff for working through this and getting the answers that we needed to get it passed. Next on the agenda tonight is application entitled S-24-03 Felton Drive-In. Applicant owner is Felton Drive-In LLC, 19413 Jingle Shell Way, Lewis, Delaware, 19958. Engineer is Becker Morgan Group, Incorporated, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware, 19904. Comp plan map designation, Highway Commercial, Zoning District, BG, General Business. Relation to growth zone, inside, present use, vacant residential. Proposed use, business industrial park. Proposed building size, 58,500 square feet. It equals 6 buildings of 9,750 each. Water and wastewater is public water and sewer. Levy Court District is the 6th. Mr. Hertz School District is Lake Forest. Fire District is Felton, Station 48. Area and location, 8.16 plus or minus acres, located on the west side of South DuPont Highway, 0.29 miles south of Plymouth Road and southeast of Viola. Is there someone here to represent it? I guess I could talk all night on this one. There's a lot of history in the Felton area with the Felton Drive-In, but we will let the engineer go ahead and make his presentation. He'll have to be sworn and affirmed.
Mike Ryman,
Your address, sir.
309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated, Mike Ryman with Becker Morgan. We're the engineers for this project, and I'm here with Jeff Garrison, who is the developer of this property. Just start with a little overview of the property itself. As Mr. Jester had stated, this is known as the old Felton Drive-In. Believe it or not, I actually went to a movie there when it tried to reopen. Yeah, I think if many, Mr. Jester, you probably remember, it reopened at one point and they tried again. It lasted a little while.
And the lines were a mile long out on the highway to get in.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it didn't go over.
But it's been vacant for many, many years since then, and the property is located right on Route 13 that you can see off to the right, and the property is zoned BG in the county, located in the growth zone. Most recently, the property actually went before Levy Court on Tuesday night to extend the sewer district to the property, and Levy Court did act favorably with that. Water and sewer actually are available to the property, and I think for a long time that really wasn't the case. It's probably why this property sat vacant for so long. It really didn't have water and sewer, and now does have that ability. So that is a good thing. The site itself is about 8 acres in size. You can kind of see the outline of it there in the rendering. The proposed site is a number 6, to be exact, about 9,750 square foot mix of sort of warehouse, industrial, manufacturing, flex type space. These spaces are intended to serve that marketplace, local contractors, small incubator businesses, those types of things. There is a huge need for that, as many of you may be aware, and it is something that we are certainly lacking in the county. Total square footage is 58,500 square feet, as was stated. The site takes access from Route 13. It would be a right in, right out only. There would be a new right turn lane that would be constructed there in accordance with DelDOT requirements. And then you can see the circulation through the site. The site has great circulation. Fire lanes meet or exceed all of the regulations that exist for that. Stormwater drains to the south. You can see 2 proposed stormwater facilities there to manage all of the stormwater for the site in accordance with Kent Conservation District. Landscaping meets the county code. There are some landscape buffers. There are some adjacent residential property to the north, so you can see additional landscaping. There's a natural buffer there now, but this would be additional landscaping to supplement that on the properties to the north. And then there's some residential to actually the west there, which is the Pizzadilly property, actually already natural landscaping, and then also some additional landscaping there. There is potential for some future commercial development on the front. We've left that area blank at this point. We're hoping that with the change in the area and this project, some of the utilities that might have an opportunity for some of that commercial along the front, but that's not currently part of this application. The house that's there would eventually be removed, but is currently to remain.
What about the staff recommendations? I know you probably haven't got to it,
Yep.
but there's 3 of them. I'd like you to be able to address them.
You went right where I was going. Have reviewed the staff report. We do, in large part, have no problems with that. We do have a couple of questions or concerns. I'll just take them one at a time. There was a recommendation about a parking reserve area based on the uses. So a couple of things to point out. The parking that's on the plan now already exceeds the minimum code required. So I believe 59 parking spaces are required. We actually provide 80, so we're exceeding the code by 21 right now. Secondarily, the code, we utilize the warehousing parking requirement ratio. Manufacturing is the same. So manufacturing and warehousing have the same parking requirement. So the contractor establishments, light industrial, manufacturing, warehousing, all really have the same parking requirement. The only things that might come into play would be like a retail or office, but that's really not, this site's not conducive to that. It's not laid out for that. It's not going to be retail stores. These are going to be small warehouse flex type spaces. They're back off the road, and visually you're not getting a subway in here or anything like that. So we don't think that that's necessary for this project, and we already exceed the code. So we would ask for that recommendation to be removed. The other item was about interconnectivity. So the property to our south, and it might show up better.
Why don't you use that little board down there? You can put your finger on it wherever you're talking about, just point.
So I believe the recommendation was about an interconnection to that property to our south, but if we could go back to the staff's, I guess, can I do it myself?
Make sure you're at the mic. Some of my commissioners have a hard time hearing.
If you can go back to the staff packet, the one that brought up the overall aerial view, that would actually be helpful. Yep, right there. So you can see this property that's here is actually the same ownership of that property, which is a self-storage. They have an access already that's there, a right-in, right-out access. We don't think that there's really a connectivity between their use and our use. Interconnection typically would come into play if you have a lot of retail uses along the highway. It would have been nice a long time ago on 13 with all the retail and shopping if there were more interconnectivity. That kind of makes sense. In this particular case, with these types of uses where the users are really just coming direct there and out, they're not really connecting to the mini storage. There's no need for them to really connect to that. So we don't think that's necessary. It would actually eliminate likely our stormwater pond. I do think that in the future, when we come back for that commercial pad in the front, that might make more sense to address that at that time with that plan versus with this plan today. I think that's something that makes sense in the future. If we were to have some type of restaurant or coffee shop or something like that in the future, but that's really not in today's plan, and I'd rather address that when we come back.
So what you're saying is that it's not out of realm of possibility, but when you come back for future development, that you would possibly agree with number 3 of staff recommendation.
Yeah, I think so, and we could better integrate it with that plan at that time versus today. And I think it's also, cost is a real thing with these facilities. We need to make sure that we keep the cost for these types of projects, in line, and it's not something that would benefit this project today, and it would just simply add cost. But I do think there's merit to it in the future when we come back with the commercial pad.
Sarah, would you like to comment?
I certainly wouldn't voice an objection to addressing the interconnectivity in the future. I think there's always a public interest in interconnectivity, and we cannot predict, regardless of ownership, what the adjacent property will be used for. But holding that in abeyance until the expansion of the site is not unreasonable. As to parking, that's advisory more than anything else. Not having enough parking is harmful to the owner, not to the county. Right. It is actually remarkable what these kinds of uses end up being used for. Any number of them include breweries, and it gets a lot of visitors. So advisory more than anything else. It's not regulatory. We encourage the property owner to build in as much flexibility as possible because we want them to succeed. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to that too, I mean, breweries, it is a good example. So a brewery comes in and they want to be in building number 1. Maybe go back to the other plan now. Sorry about this. Yep, there we go. So a brewery comes in and they want to go in that plan. The county's going to get an application probably for a building permit, tenant fit out or whatever at that time. And if there is a parking issue at that time, I think we could address it at that time. We do have the future area that's available for us to address it at that time. But we would, to identify it now and withhold area for something that we don't know to be the case, we're not sure, we just don't agree with that. But we do exceed the code. So we do have 21 more parking spaces on the plan right now today than what the code requires. But we're happy to, we would love, I'm sure my client would love to have a brewery that has lots of patrons and parking, and we certainly need to make sure that we have enough of it. And I think if that were to happen, we could address it, but that's not likely the intended uses here.
And I think, I really do like the way you stubbed that road on the south side of the building 1, the proposed building 1, because the fire access right there, we could park a truck in there and all, we could fight a fire on all sides of the building from both sides in. I assume these are all sprinklered? And wet sprinkler, or are they dry and hook up by the truck?
They wouldn't be sprinklered because they're under 10,000 and then the fire marshal doesn't require it. But there would be a fire system and hydrants looping the site, and that would definitely be required.
I saw that, yeah. So there'd be a question about fire. You knew that.
No problem, Mr. Jester. Any other questions?
Is that all you have?
I believe those were just those 2 items that we wanted to address. You said 3, but I think it's just those 2. Did you have a third?
There's 3 in the recommendations.
I don't believe we had an issue. Huh? Oh, we don't, yeah, we're okay with bike racks. We don't have a concern about bike racks.
Okay, one was bikes, one was parking, one was connectivity. So
Correct.
We addressed them all.
Yes, sir.
Any of the commissioners have any questions for the engineer? Great presentation, and good luck with your job. I hate to see the old roller rink be gone, but it's going to be gone, I guess.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here in favor of this project would like to speak? Anyone here in favor? Anyone else in favor? Third and final call. Is there anyone opposed to this project and would like to speak, or on the phone? Mark, anybody? No one's on the phone? Well, if no one's on the phone, no one here to speak, we'll get ready to act on your project. So, commissioners, I'll open it up to you now if you have no more questions. And I'll ask for a motion if somebody'd like to make it.
Motion.
Mr. Garvey?
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of application S24-03, Felton Drive-In LLC, a site plan for the construction of 6 warehouse buildings totaling 58,500 square feet located in the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, Staff Recommendation Report dated April 11, 2024, and the findings of fact that A, the subject site is Zone BG, General Business, and Subchapter 205-53 of the zoning ordinance permits a business industrial park. B, the plan complies with all relevant conditions of approval. C, the plan is compliant with the comprehensive plan. Pursuant to Chapters 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware C, Subchapter 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the April 11, 2024 Staff Recommendation Report, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall maintain compliance with all requirements and recommendations of the Staff Recommendation Report, including but not limited to A, advise that additional parking area be provided in the eastern vacant area for overflow parking and curb cutout installed to allow access from the drive aisle over to the sidewalk. B, a bike rack large enough to accommodate at least 4 bicycles shall be added to the site plan. C, the site plan shall be revised with future expansion to show access to parcel 7503 south of the subject site. D, the final plan must meet all requirements of both Subchapter 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code, and all items in the final plan column of Appendix D of Subchapter 187. E, this plan must gain final approval within 24 months of the date of preliminary approval. Construction must not commence until final approval is given.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve. I think it's great improvement. I think you've done a wonderful job setting this up. The place has kind of been kind of a bad-looking place for a while, so I'm happy to see you doing that, and you've done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, I voted also yes, and this whole area is kind of improving in itself, and I really think it's a good thing.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting conditional approval of application S2403.
Thank you, and good luck with the project. Next on the agenda tonight is application entitled S-24-15, revised Kent County Motors, applicant Kent County Motors Sales Company, 2181 South DuPont Highway, Dover, Delaware, 19901. Owner, J&D Properties, LLC, 117 West Side Drive, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. Engineer, Becker Morgan Group, Incorporated, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware, 19904. Comp Plan Map Designation, Highway Commercial, Zoning District, BG. General Business, relation to Growth Zone, inside. Present use, automobile dealership with service. Proposed use, automobile dealership with service and paint shop. Proposed new building size, 4,200 square feet. Water and wastewater is well and sewer. Levy Court District is the second hall. School District is Caesar Rodney. Fire District is Camden, Wyoming, Station 41. Area and location, 6.81 plus or minus acres located on the east side of South DuPont Highway, 200 feet southeast of Caboose Road and east of Camden. Someone here to represent this project. And I would like to commend you. I really like the front cover on this where the actual picture of the parcel showed the entire parcel come up. I think that's very, hopefully that catches on because you get an overall view of the whole area and you don't have to have questions and keep you up to the mic for a half hour.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Again, for the record, Mike Ryman, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware. I don't have to go through it again, or do I?
No, you're still sworn.
Okay. All right. Let me get to my notes. So actually, if we can go, is this the one that zoomed in? Was it the other one that was zoomed in a little bit more? No. Maybe that is it. Yep, go back. Yep, there we go. So this is the Kent County Motors dealership located on Route 13. You can see just north of the roller rink there to the south. This is a pretty straightforward project. The building that you see right there is an existing paint shop facility. So the proposal is to expand the existing paint shop facility. So if you go to the plan, the CAD or the that plan. So that building I pointed to on the previous slide is that existing building there, and this is an 4,200 square foot proposed addition to the paint shop. The addition is to serve the paint shop so that they can have an additional painting capacity. They've been a little bit overloaded in the amount of painting there, and so this will give them that additional capacity. They're hiring some additional, one additional staff person to do that, and that's the intended purpose of the project. The entire project is located within a paved area of the site right now, so there's really not an impact on impervious coverage or drainage or anything like that. There's no additional water and sewer needed to the building. It's the existing facilities that are there are already adequate. And from a traffic perspective, this really isn't going to generate any traffic. They've mentioned maybe 15 to 20 cars a month, that they could do in this facility. So it's really just to help them better operate the facility there and serve their customers. Like I said, won't generate any additional traffic or any issues there. We did have a sidewalk waiver that we submitted as part of this. So in the county code, a sidewalk is required along the frontage. Our waiver request was for a number of reasons. One, this project itself doesn't generate any pedestrian traffic, the paint shop, I mean. And then the second is that DelDOT, as you may or may not be aware, is in the process of upgrading Route 13 as we speak. There's an active project that is happening. I included some graphics in our waiver request that should be in your packet that actually shows the widening and all the improvements that are happening on 13, including sidewalks. So those are really already happening in a more global way as part of that project. And it just really makes sense for DelDOT to implement that, and they're already planning to do so. So we would respectfully request the approval of the waiver. And with that, that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
It's always good to see, even if you add one employee, we certainly appreciate that. That's very good. Any commissioners have any questions? Thank you, sir, once again. Anyone else here would like to speak in favor of this project? Third and final call. Anybody here would like to speak or on the phone in favor of this project? Is there anyone opposed to this project? Seeing no one in the audience besides the ones I've already asked, we're going to move forward for this, and we're going to do a motion and vote on it. So I'll go back to the commissioners. Somebody like to make a motion? Peter?
Yes. I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of application S-84-15 revised / Kent County Motor Sales, a site plan for the construction of a 4,200 square foot paint shop addition located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated April 11th, 2024, and the findings of fact that A, the subject site is Zone BG, General Business, and Section 205-53 of the zoning ordinance permits an automobile dealership with service and paint shop. B, the plan complies with all relevant conditions of approval. C, the plan is compliant with the comprehensive plan. D, the waiver from Section 187-60, parentheses A, requiring frontage sidewalk shall be granted provided the applicant provides verification in writing from DelDOT that the construction of a shared use path is part of a state-funded construction project. Pursuant to chapters 187 and 205 of Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware Code Section 4802 and Section 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the April 11th, 2024 staff recommendation report, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall maintain compliance with all requirements and recommendations of the staff recommendation report, including but not limited to: A, the final plan must meet all requirements of both Section 187 and Section 205 of the Kent County Code, and all items in the final plan column of Appendix D of Section 187. B, this plan must gain final approval within 24 months of the date of preliminary approval. Construction may not commence until final approval is given.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, as per the motion.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvary?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting conditional approval of application S8415 revised.
Thank you all, and once again, good luck with your project. Down to public comment. Anybody on the phone, Mark, or anybody in the audience have any public comment? Going down to commission comments. Anybody in the commission like to say anything? Denise?
My recommendation, because in 20, 30 years max, no one's going to know why that's called the Felton Drive-In, that you might want to get some old pictures to hang up in different buildings.
I'll be here. What are you talking about? Any other commission comments that don't make any difference? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Call the commission, please.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Galvary?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to adjourn, and thank you all for coming.